podcast about the game of life and the hero's journey we all experience. Let's jump in with our host, Dylan Watkins, as he introduces today's guest.
Welcome, adventurers. On today's podcast, I have Nick from Breda. He actively trains makers to become changemakers. He's on a mission to help 1 million people to change the world for the better. He's helped 222,000 individuals become entrepreneurs between the areas of 2014 to 2021. He focuses on shaping trends with them to become turn them into business models from makers and the change makers with social impact. So without any further delay, I'd like to welcome Nick. Hey, brother.
Hey, thank you. You were talking so fast.
I know. I went to go look for where your intro was, and I had it in a different section. I'm like, oh, there it is.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to chat with you, and and I'm excited to dive into these things of helping people become entrepreneurs and to help them with social impact. I think the combination of profit and purpose is a very difficult thing to do, and I'd love to learn just a little bit about your journey that got you into the space.
Yeah, well, the journey is quite. It was quite a roller coaster to actually get into entrepreneurship myself. I used to be a game addict, actually. Between the age of 9 to 19, I've actively been living inside video games for over 8 hours a day. So that was like a completely different life than I have today. But it's definitely a big ride, and a lot of things has happened in those 10 years. And even more has happened after that 10 years. Now I'm 29, so it's 10 years ago that I made the shift.
So you were originally in games. You're like basically living inside games, playing a lot of games. What games did you play?
Back in the days, it was mostly RuneScape. I played it since 2001. So it's at the beginning of the game that was invented. I think it was in 1998 or 99 that it came out, and then there were party hats and all kind of rare items that you could that were not worth that much in 2001, but eventually when I quit, they were like 800 million in-game currency. You could, if you wanted, you could have bought them, I think, for a few thousand euros if you want to spend money on the game. But
didn't they have Christmas hats? Wasn't that one of the rare things that came out, was Christmas hats or something?
Santas. Yeah, Santas they call them.
Mm-hmm.
So Santa hats and those party hats. The party hats were like little crowns, and the Santas they were both very expensive and rare.
I think it completely wrecked the economy of RuneScape too. I think that's what happened. Like jacked up all the prices, and then people started buying things out of the game, and it just it's unintended behavior.
You played it as well.
I've had friends of mine play it, and so I've gotten some of the feedback from them. I've played other games, but I haven't honestly played a ton of RuneScape. So, there's been other ones I've been into, and I do sometimes look back and, man, if I spent all my time versus, like, say Halo was my game, if I didn't play Halo, if I didn't do that and I'd play the piano instead, how far I'd be along in playing the piano, that kind of stuff.
How depressed are you that they are dropping Halo from the Xbox?
Oh,
they're dropping it.
Wow. It's weird to think of how long Halo's been around for. And to me, it's like, I grew up with it, and it's one of those things that I don't play it really that much anymore, but I feel like it needs to make way for new stuff, because I feel like they get one thing that works and they just rehash it again and again and again, and they just beat it into the ground. Yeah,
Nintendo does it all the time on the Switch. Oh, let's have Mario Kart. Yeah. I played Mario Kart a lot.
Yeah. So what caused you to, with the gaming piece, man? You were doing 8 hours a day, and you wanted to make the switch to get out of that. Could you tell it was like affecting you, or was it like, what was the moment that you realized?
So much more. It was so much more. So in puberty, normally people are chasing girls in school, but I was very very bad at it. So I was chasing the computers in school. That every time I had a break, that I could just run to the computer department, like the IT media department, that I could just play the game more and more. And then people got hit up by others, and their accounts got stolen and they got hacked, and this was like the situation. It was that that computer room was full of people like me, and there were like a community of gamers that were spending as little as much time on getting good grades and as much time as possible on gaming. So Halo for us putting a USB stick in the computer and passing it on to everyone
Yeah.
to load in Halo, and then Alt Tab was like, okay, we are working. Yeah, we are working, teacher. We did it so much. We did it so much. But that was the good part. So still puberty, I really loved
Mhm.
gaming, and then you have to level up. It's getting a little bit harder, slower. You get levels that
Mhm.
take first level take 2 minutes, and then the and the last level it takes 1.5 years to get to that last level of playing full time, like 8 hours a day. So it,
Proper.
it really got hard. I almost got maxed out in all the skills in RuneScape, which is quite hard. And there were a lot of friends doing the same, and we were competing with each other.
Mhm.
And then they decided to quit and play PlayStation 4 or now PlayStation 5. And I was like, oh, I got depressed. Like, you're leaving me here? We are one tribe. We are one community, right? You cannot stop this game. I have my life in this game. I even had my relationship in that game. So it was the only girl that I actually could could get a hands on. Was living like far, far away. I never met her in real life. So that was really my life was in that game. But
Mhm.
then when I was 16, I had a lot of people in the family that got sick and died soon after.
Mhm.
In 3 years, I think 5 people died in the family, which was mentally so hard for me to to not bother. I was seeing people that I felt like a role model. They were a
Mhm.
role model to me. I saw them drop dead out of the sun. So three from cancer, one from suicide, one from falling off a stair and breaking his skull. My grandfather, or how do you call it? My uncle,
Yeah.
and that really hit me. Especially the person that committed suicide was just 32 years old.
Wow.
My nephew, and on his funeral, I was like, this how this person was also a role model. He was very good in karting. He could be the next Max Verstappen if you looked at his track record in karting, and out of a sudden, he quit and he got depressed and he didn't have a goal in life anymore. And his brother was depressed for a longer time and tried to commit suicide for 7 times, but failed. And he out of a sudden he was out of the game. So we were shocked, and on his funeral there were, I think, 700 people,
Mhm.
and no one could believe it, and it was devastating for the parents, and I saw so many people hurt, asking the question why did they leave, and why did they leave us alone in this way, and that made me as in puberty and losing my girlfriend to quit gaming, losing some friends who quit gaming. They were still there in real
Mhm.
life, but for me, that virtual world, my video game world, was my life. I was half of the day I was on there. So for me, it was depressing, and I even got also the feeling of why not suicide? And
Mhm.
that moment that my nephew committed suicide, actually shifted my mind about the idea, because you hurt so many people, and I never wanted to hurt anyone. I was just not happy with myself. I was not having any self-esteem. I was not feeling that someone was proud of me in the real world. I didn't know what I was and who I was. And then after my nephew and my
Mhm.
uncle, which I really said, why not me instead of him? Like I was that far away in my mental health. Then an uncle that was helping us in the renovation every week in the house of us. He we were setting it together. We were lunching every week, and he retired. He sold his cow farm, and he built his own house. But just when he finished the house, he got cancer, And before we knew it, 3 months later, he got so sick, he got taken into the hospital, and they said, "Yeah, well, we don't have any treatments anymore. You have cancer everywhere in your body. You even have brain cancer and stomach cancer, and everywhere there was cancer." And uh, he was the oldest person in my father's family. And they have a family of 11, so it's quite a big family. So he felt like the father figure for the whole family. So he was always there for everyone that asked for help. And then he couldn't walk his stairs anymore, but he was not able to ask for help. And at the moment he got taken into the hospital because he couldn't actually, have enough breathe anymore. Um, he was falling asleep, and we thought we'll not have a new year with him anymore. And we got a message from him. He woke up, and he said, I saw this beautiful white space around me. I saw this beautiful light and tunnel, and I saw my son and daughter putting a hand on my shoulder, saying, "It's enough, Dad. You've done enough." And that was told by him to the family, that it was the most beautiful experience that he ever had, and that he could let go. That he said, like, I'm no longer fighting against it. I now can let go. And sooner or later, he died in his sleep.
Wow.
And on his funeral, I was like, it's my role model here. He's he's gone, and his son was giving a speech saying, my dad wanted to become an inventor, but he took over the business from his dad. He worked for it 40 years long. He sold the business and wanted to relive his purpose, to become an inventor. And now he's dead. And it broke me so much down. Like I was like, how is this possible that someone that is standing there for everyone, is helping everyone in the family out? He's like the Santa Claus to us. He's like giving help to everyone. Never asked for help back. Never wanted to something in return. And he actually didn't live his life that he wanted to live. So I put my hand on his grave. I said, the dream to become an inventor is now my dream too, and I'm going to pursue it. And that was the moment that I quit gaming. So I was able to stop and actually make such a shift that I didn't need therapy or anything. I just could stop right there, and I didn't touch the video games anymore.
Wow. So, I mean, that's incredible. So, I mean, you had a lesson where basically you saw him. I mean, you got hit multiple times. You know, bam, bam,
Yeah.
bam. You see these people just lose their lives, and you're spending your life inside this video game, uh, enjoying yourself, but not really doing what you feel called to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had this uh, this just insight is interesting because you talk about like you don't know the impact of suicide and what the causes are, like how selfish it is because of the pain that it causes to everybody else, because it feels like
Mm-hmm.
why did you take yourself from me? Why did you it seemed it makes you feel very alone, like your friends leaving the games to the other places, that sense of being abandoned. And it's incredible that you had such a transformative shift right there, that you then said, I don't want to live a life with regret to a degree. You had and then
For me, it was like, okay, I, I want to leave. I want to leave the world with not having to hurt someone from that point. And after that, my uncle died. I had a purpose. I figured out that he was helping so many people, that gave me the reason to call him my role model. He was able to help people in the real world, and I was not able to do so. But I was having a lot of fun in the games that I did, and he was not having fun with the job that he did.
Mhm.
I think we have to find a way in between, where you can have fun while helping others. That's the beauty of life. That's when you can go step out of the life. If you do it today and tomorrow you die out of a sudden, you can live without regrets. And
Man,
that's the thing that he was able to put in my head, that okay, this is the purpose of life.
mhm. To enjoy yourself and know you're making a difference, to have fun in the life and also understand you have an impact. And part of that, you can't just be of service to others without serving yourself, because then you empty your cup and you have nothing left and then you die with regret. You can't
Mhm.
just only play around and have fun and that's it without actually having any kind of impact, because then you feel empty and hollow. So it's
Yeah,
finding that balance, right? That
yeah,
balance.
yeah.
So you had this moment and you just straight cold cut the game. You're like, I'm done with this. I'm gonna jump in this. His mission's now my mission. You took it on. What do you
Mhm.
do next? What are your things out the gate from there?
Yeah, you don't know what your skills are at that point. So
Mhm,
it was a few years of reflections. Like,
mhm,
okay, what did I actually learn from gaming? What do I can? What are the skills that I actually developed during gaming?
mhm,
And then I figured out, okay, I'm actually quite good in community building. I'm actually quite good in speaking and talking English, and internationally connecting with people around the world. Um, I'm also good in organizing activities, like the clans that I was running. I was very good in organizing activities, and the socializing part of the game. That was for me like the most beneficial in the end. That turned me in like, okay, I want to give back and train people to do better and to become better. And I was like, in that game, I already was a trainer for others that were not that far in the game. So I figured out that those skills were actually life skills that you could use somewhere else. That game was actually a simulation for the things that you want to do in the real world, and that made me very confident to actually take a stage where I had stage fright. So at that moment, I had stage fright. I was gaming. I was backstage. But for me, it's so weird. But I really had to take that stage, and sooner or later, I joined a competition, a research competition from the university I joined. I was a freshman in bachelor in business innovation, and I just said, okay, let's give it a try. I am not a researcher, but this topic interested me, like co-creation and crowdsourcing. Let's see if I can write a future site, like what happens in the next 30 years in this trend. And I was writing it down and sent it in, and then all of a sudden I got an email back saying you won this competition, this research competition. I was like, I didn't read any, I didn't do any research here.
Where'd you
So
get the
what did
information from? Yeah, how'd you come up with the future information? That
yeah,
from all from
I
was it
was
all from gaming?
no, just I just had a subject on school called crowdsourcing. I was like, oh,
Mhm,
interesting topic. I did a great job in that course, like how to arrange all the stuff that you need from people that have stuff in abundance, and I would like to think along with your ideas and stuff. So for me, it was like, oh, I've done a subject in this. I did some research, like trend watching in this. I know organizations that do this on a great way, like chips brands that are designing the new flavor, and like, oh, this is interesting. And then co-creation was the next thing. So I was like, okay, let me research that too and make it one vision. Yeah, like I
mm.
summarized a 500 word vision on the topic, and then I won the competition. And then they said you can go on stage in Lisbon to present your research for 150 marketing managers of corporates and research PhDs in marketing. I was like, wait, what? But the sooner or later I was like, my uncle is here on my shoulder now.
Mhm.
I have to take this deadline seriously. So I have to ask for help right now because this is my only deadline. I have to make it. And so it was like 1.5 months later that I have to be on stage in another country presenting in English. Well, the English was no problem.
Mhm.
I was like, teacher, English teacher, can you help me? I have to give a presentation. And then other people, please, I have stage fear. Please help me. and the researcher, please help me. I cannot write research. Can you help me with my research?
What gave you the confidence to ask these people? Was it the fact that you're living your uncle's mission, or like what allowed you to?
Yeah, he gave me some self-esteem.
Mhm,
Like the moment I put my hand on his grave, I felt like he was in my room. Lots of times when I went to bed, I was like, he's there. He's watching what I'm doing. So it felt that he was pushing me a bit, and that I had to take the opportunities out there,
Mm,
outside of the video games. So I did, and I did a great job. I actually I gave the presentation there. I
mhm,
got over my stage fear. I got so much adrenaline that I loved being on
mhm.
stage out of a sudden, and it got me an internship in Lisbon as well. So 2 years later, I got myself an internship in an innovation company in Lisbon.
Oh, okay. So then you worked in an innovation studio or an innovation company, working on
Yeah,
innovating. So then you had the research, and then you combine that with the innovations, and then you're really at that point where you then was that where you then started doing community building? I know you talked about doing like hackathons and content creation weekends. Is that where you got your chops for that?
yeah. First I started researching like all the world problems,
Hmm.
and then I got into involved into a lot of Facebook groups,
Hmm.
terrible groups, Illuminati there, and chemtrails and GMOs and all of the things. I was inside of that. I was part of that community for quite
Hmm.
2 years, I guess.
Hmm.
And I got sick of all the people complaining all the time. Like, oh, now it's over with. I'm not becoming an activist going on the street like, hey, stop doing this. But I'm going to be an entrepreneur now. I'm going to really do something about it. It's done. I'm not going to be trying to convince someone. Well, I know better. I can also build the solution, not just complain about something.
Hmm.
So it took me 2 years to get out of that communities,
Hmm.
but also get a lot of awareness about systems and the society and the types of people in society, and like who do I want to work with, who I want to have in the community, and then I started writing articles about entrepreneurship, blogging.
Hmm.
I started writing for a Facebook group called Young Creators. And Young Creators was a community with people under 25 years old that wanted to set up their own business. And they were setting up a lot of cool projects. Like the one was doing games development, and the other was building web shops and selling domain names and a lot of things. But I was able to help a lot of people with their entrepreneurship questions, not at the beginning, but after a while. And I was just replying to all the questions. I felt like, oh, I can be useful to them. And they are asking, so I know an answer, or I can search an answer on the web. And in the end, 2 3 years later, that community of 400 children
Hmm.
became a community of 10,000 people. So then I was, there were metrics like top engaged members and most posts and most engagement on posts, and I was always number one in that 10,000 people. So I was organizing events with them, and I was blogging.
Was it a piece of yourself with the gaming of, like, being a part of gaming communities that you kind of found, like, another home? It sounds like,
Yeah, it
uh
felt like that. Yeah,
yeah, it was a way to actually take what you were naturally doing, which is inside it's just having fun with groups of people and being useful inside games, right? And
yeah,
then you brought it to the Facebook group of the young creators, then you started helping people with the entrepreneurship. Is that
yeah,
the
yeah. It felt like, oh, finally I find something where I can be useful again. And then yeah, you learned so much. I learned so much from all of those people in there. Some were like 5 years ahead of others, and some were a little bit older. Like I saw that there were people like 35 year old in that community. They
Mhm.
sneaked in some way, but they were helping, so they were not kicked. And they are
So
like,
funny.
wow, they are interesting for me. I can really learn from them. So I started only talking to people that are at least 10 years older than I was. So in the end, I was having my network was only 30 plus year old people, and
Mhm.
I was 20, 21 years old back in the days.
So then what was the transition to actually shifting from helping people in the Facebook group to you actually, helping and coaching and guiding other people as a entrepreneurial profession?
Yeah, so from the events that started, they were first like talk shows where we let entrepreneurs explain how they became successful, and then there were like 200 children. Yeah, I call it children because they were 12-year-olds, still 20 years old,
Mhm.
attending. So most of them were 12 to 16,
Mhm.
and they were already doing coding and stuff. I was not a coder, but I was really like, wow, they can do great stuff. They can create inventions. I want to learn from them, and I cannot do it myself. So let's just organize events for them. So I started organizing my first event in 2015, called the Education Hackathon.
Hmm.
So I was like, what kind of problems do you have in your school? Because they have to be the young entrepreneurs, they were forced to go to school till like 18-year-olds. But at the meantime, they were having businesses and multiple businesses, and they were making money online. Um, they were like posting like, this is a problem in school, and this is a problem in school, and we shouldn't go to school at 9 in the morning, and we should. I'm an evening person. I'm a night person. I should go to school at 3 in the afternoon. I was like, oh, it's an interesting question. Maybe that's something we can figure out. So I was hosting a hackathon around education solutions,
Hmm.
and out of that, 6 people got a job
Oh,
out of
wow.
that event. Like, whoa,
Yeah.
what did I do here? So they came up with a good concept, and then they were hired to build the concept inside the company. Like, whoa. So another moment where my uncle was sitting on my shoulder, like, whoa, you did an event and you helped people design their own career in one day with their own ideas, so they can just build their own ideas into the world. Like, I'm not the inventor here, but they are, and I'm really happy with that. So it got me so much gratification that I knew that, okay, if you want to be an inventor, you don't have to be the inventor, but you can also facilitate inventors.
Yeah, and it's also really inspiring to when you see those people do that. I've ran virtual reality education hackathons and things like that, and you see all this creativity.
Right.
It's very rewarding, when you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that, and then you get inspired and you feel that energy and that juice and that creative focus. It's it's
Yeah.
it's, it's magical. Like so, okay, so you do the hackathon, you get through it, you're like, this is great. 6 people got jobs, which is awesome. It's one of the best ways to make portfolios of works and get hired. I think it's incredible. So from there, did you turn that into a business, or what do you do next?
Yeah, what I did is I started coaching them. Like, oh, I know some people. There's some basic entrepreneurial questions that come up. You need marketing. You should work with them. You need an article. You need another stage. So I started coaching those young entrepreneurs. I started writing about them. I started arranging free tickets for exhibitions for them. And in the end, I gave away 10,000 tickets to Web Summit and to the Next Web and to a lot of great technology events that, yeah, normally people go when they're 18 plus, but I arranging places for 12-year-olds. So like I was the only one that offered that. Like, oh, you have a community of 12 to 16-year-old entrepreneurs? Yeah, I have. There's 10,000 of them. Oh, really? You really want to give them a free ticket? Can you arrange the free tickets via your blog? So
Mhm.
yeah, we do a giveaway, and they were sponsoring all the tickets, and I was not getting any money, but I got a lot of tickets, so I got like 10,000 euros of tickets,
Yeah.
and I gave them to them. So I built like goodwill. I built some goodwill to all of those people, and then the one got an investor, and the other got further, and yeah, I just let them go, and then sometimes they asked for some help, but in the end, they were able with that extra exposure, extra stage, to also do it themselves.
What do you think are some of the big gaps in terms of, because you're talking about a lot of creatives, a lot of developers, people that
Hmm.
do hackathons and coding things. What do you think are in terms of starting a business? What do you think are some of their blind spots, common patterns that you see happen?
Well, if you're a good developer, or I call it a good hacker,
Mhm.
we have four types of age. You have the hipsters, the hackers, the hustlers, and the helpers. And I was always a helper in the games. I didn't want to become a specialist in one thing. I want to be a generalist, and let me help out here, let me help out there. So a lot of helpers. If I organize a hackathon, I always ask, okay, what is your superpower? You're a hipster, hacker, helper, or hustler, and then they define that, and I create teams. I started organizing more and more hackathons. I eventually did more than 100. I organized more than 100 hackathons in that 2015 to 2021. I figured out the methodology to make them super successful in entrepreneurship. while giving that methodology during the hackathon. So we developed a methodology for design thinking to make sure that things they build are actually needed. So the higher the opportunity that they land a job, or the higher they could very fastly implement it into the market. I developed a strategy to help them develop social skills, to ask good questions to people, like what is the pain behind the pain? Like I had to figure it out for myself, how to get to the heart of the people. I figured out, okay, they need pitch workshops. I started working together with pitch masters, and they were giving great workshops. And I started working together with innovation studios to fine tune that methodology into one piece. Like if you have a 24 hours hackathon, if you have a 68 hours hackathon, we have this timeline, we have these building blocks. And then everyone is able to build entrepreneurship skills while hacking. And then some hackers, they don't want to participate. Okay, your thing. And then the judging criteria is based on how well they do in the whole thing, not just the hacking, the whole thing. They need to have a business model, they need to have a good pitch, they need to have some customers, preferably already. So find the customer as soon as possible, go out of the building, get there.
So during the hackathon, you go out and have them find customers? Or
Yeah.
It is very fun for me to watch a bunch of introverted developers try to go be social in that situation. That is one of the greatest challenges. This is wonderful. And yeah, and I completely agree. So for the hackathons, you actually have them go out, not only to say, okay, you can code it, that's great, but then you got to go out and what's your business model? And then you got to go find customers that said that, oh yeah, I want this. And then your presentation at the end, it's not just, so you're not just hacking to produce a concept or an application, you're actually producing businesses.
Yeah. So and then the hackathon shape of having only coders and developers in there, it got widened, because I knew if we want to be successful in 24 hours, we don't want people of the same type. We want those 4 types in every team. So if there's people trying to sign up from a marketing background, or from an economics background, or a psychology background, I want to give everyone the opportunity, if they are one of the 4 types, to go together and to build a team. Those who never spoken to each other before. So I didn't allow anyone to sign up anymore as a team. I just didn't allow it anymore. I wanted to have the best talents together, so they ask help at all times to each other. If they don't, they are not going to win that hackathon. They need each other. They have specialisms. So it became more of my recipe of doing successful hackathons. And companies got very happy with them, and government. And they said, yeah, we have an outcome, and now we don't have a product owner here. Do you have one? I said, well, I have 4 types of people in this team, and one is taking the lead here.
Yeah.
And he's pushing the developers forward and building the stuff that you need.
Is that a helper? Because you said it was hipsters, helpers, hackers.
Yeah, sometimes the helper is an investor. Sometimes the helper knows how to build systems. Like a very good business modeler is also a good helper. But the hipster is mostly the guy who sets the trend. He's a fashionata who wants to try the new tech, has a vision, like 2050 should be here. The activist, like I was in that group of activists, like, yeah, we go here. And then the hackers are very introvert, and they're like, please don't put me on stage. Let me build stuff. Please let me build stuff. Give me 24 hours and I build it for you. And I'm not going to sleep before I finish. And then the hustlers are like, well, people should know. I know how to get my way in. I know how to do sales. Let me try to sell this product, even though it's not ready yet. Let me sell it. And then the hackers, no, don't do it. It's not done yet. Well, I have to get going. Come on. So they were selling, and they were already preparing a pitch on the first 2 hours of the event. Like, but we don't have an idea yet. Oh, we have something we can sell. So they went outside and started working with the end users. And you got feedback and like 5 iterations in one day. Like, whoa, the hackers, they got shaken up by left and right. And then the visionaries like, yeah, but this should be in there, and that should be in there. And then it was more of a challenge to coach and facilitate this. So in the end, I was training coaches in design thinking to be able to run this process smoothly without fights.
Yeah, without fights is a really interesting one because there's a lot of opinions going on because everyone feels like if you have the vision, it feels like you own it. If you're the hustler, you feel like you're owning it because you're selling it. If you're the hacker, you feel like you're there's a lot of people that are taking ownerships in that. How do you facilitate it to not have fights? What is something
Yeah,
that actually cause that happen? Yeah, what does that look like?
yeah. So we put people together that are the opposite of each other. Huh?
Mhm.
So that means that you are not going to drink a beer with that person.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. A real life is not going to happen. But this time you're in the same team,
Mhm.
and that ticking clock is pushing some pressure on the hackers, like 24 hours counting down. Everyone once they pitch the challenge,
Mhm.
they say they have one common goal to solve the challenge. And the whole thing about building successful teams is having a common goal. And then it doesn't matter anymore if you don't like each other. You're not going to negotiate in that hackathon. You have one goal. You signed up to solve that, and whoever is going to be in your team, they they want to solve it and they want to win a prize. So what we do as coaches, we make sure that there's a process in place,
Mhm.
that there are master classes every 1.5 hour, that there are good energizers based on their type. So there should be an energizer for the hackers, whether
Mhm.
it's in VR doing a paintball game together. There should
Mhm.
be an energizer for the hipsters, leveraging a new creative thinking thoughts like a brainstorm 5.0 exercises. Like, whoa, this is so cool! We got so creative ideas here, and they are probably going to have the most ideas in that session. Then you need marketing hustler material. So you give them all tools and tips and A/B tests and growth hacking methodology masterclass. Like, whoa, this is helpful. I can start building my Facebook page now and do some advertisement. Then we started giving them like, oh, here you have 50 euros to do that. Do it today. And we want to get out of the assumptions. Make sure you do it. So you have to create a program that works for all the types
Mhm.
and that they like. So the price, for example, if you have a lot of hackers signing up, you know that if you give them a 3D printer or a VR headset, they will go the extra mile. But for the marketing and the hipsters, like mm, not so fun. So
Yeah.
they prefer perhaps a contract for a company, or they prefer something else. So you find you're finding for types of people, and I
Mhm.
call it types of gamers. One, they want to kill each other. The other, they want to train each other. The other wants to be social and help each other, like be the green person in the room, like, oh, peace out, everything will be fine. And you have all these type of persons, and you wanna make sure you are a butler to them, and that
Mm.
then make sure that they're not going to be in a fight. They're having a good time, and all of their wishes are going to be fulfilled.
Got it. So then what you're doing is that you say, okay, just figure out the common goal, right? So once you all get the common goal, and then you go, okay, along the way, I want to help you and educate you, but I also want to rejuvenate your energy. So
Yeah,
one is educating. So there's different a hacker a coder education is not the same thing as a biz dev's education and what those things
no,
look like. And then you want to have
no.
rewards for each one of those types so that you understand. Because you're right. If you give a 3D printer to a biz dev, he'll probably just try to sell it. You
Yeah,
know, that'll
yeah.
be that.
It's on. It's going to be online for the next day. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
sold.
Yeah, he's like, "I got this." But you had them actually do ads. You had them run ads to
Yeah,
actually try to say, "Hey, I've got this amazing new wonderful idea. You should sign up," and trying to actually get these.
yeah. A landing page, a sign up page, everything. So yeah. I had to develop a lot of skills along the way.
Yeah.
But we were asking the top developer of IBM, like, give a masterclass for the hackers, and we're giving the best data scientists to those hustlers to understand like growth hacking methodologies.
It's so funny. What in terms of like the ideas, like when you form the teams, like how did you form the teams? Did one person say, "Here's my idea," and then they grouped up, or how did you actually get them to form
Yeah,
teams?
maybe I can show you. Here I have
Oh.
something for that.
Okay. You go ahead and get that. I'm gonna talk about this. So this is just really fascinating because I'm someone like done a bunch of hackathons, and so oh wow, he's got a large coffee coaster. I'm not too sure what that's about. What is it? What is it about? Okay,
It's
Teamly.
called Teamly, and Teamly understands how business works.
Okay.
This is if you have all the parts of the pie,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just gonna make sure that it's shown correctly.
Uh-huh.
There we go. So this part upwards
Uh-huh.
is the hipsters' talent. Those talents and those things should be done by the hipsters, should be led by the hipsters. They are on the beginning phase. They are recognizing a huge problem in the world. They're recognizing that things should change. They are like the activists. This should change. And the hackers, they don't mind. They want to have a good idea, but they don't have any ideas. So they are giving a lot of ideas. They're getting the hackers on board, like, oh, we can work on that. And hackers are thinking, oh, how can I build this? What kind of system do I have to do? What kind of coding language do I have to use? And the hipsters, they don't mind. They just want to have it solved, and they want to have the world listen to them, and like, oh, we have an alternative now. So then there's the hackers. So after the ideation parts, after the great idea that people say, yes, we're going to do it, you have to give the lead to the hackers. And that's this phase. It's called the starting phase, the planning phase, the conceiving and the choosing phase, where they're building a solution. And then like you have three options, which way to go to. They're choosing as a team. And then you give it over to the third phase, which is the hustler phase. And the hustler phase is, we say, time to conquer. The first thing they have to do is manifest that little thing, that MVP, that not yet ready yet. They have to interact, get feedback, and at the end of the goal is win a contract, win a partnership, sell your stuff, whatever.
Close a deal.
Close a deal, yeah. And then afterwards, you have time to continue. And that's all about building a system to reproduce the result. And then you need, best of all, where you see, then you have the time to organize a product line, find the right people that we miss in the team, monitor what kind of results we have, what kind of feedback do we get, and then the maintaining and the defending comes after, like corporations that have a product for 15 years, like Mario Kart, maybe we should stop it. No, it's great. And on the Switch, we should have it too. And then the activists will take the lead again. Like, come on, we can do better. But let's come up with something revolutionary. So the defending part is like, you have a baby, you have a company, and you cannot give up on your family business. It has to be led through. And this is a phase. Defend is a phase that a lot of companies are stuck, because if they're in the final phase, this part, they already fired all of the creatives, the visionaries. They fire them. They have some hackers to keep the systems running, and they have some hustlers to sell the stuff. And yeah, hustlers are okay with any product, even if it's not innovative. They're just selling. So they're okay with that, but they only have these two people anymore, and some in the third part, like maintaining and everything. But they miss the creative hipsters. So this is a way I make teams. I put this on the floor, a huge one, that they can actually stand in the place that they think they are as a true self. I say it's the I before the why. Who are you? If you step out of bed, and if you can do one thing the whole day, please stand on that position. And then everyone can choose. And then you see, oh, someone is standing there, someone is standing there, and someone is standing there, and someone is standing there. Okay. If we don't have it, mingle. We need, there's two people. Okay, we miss one over here. So you've within 15 minutes, people can create a team, and it works.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. And you're right. And that's that cycle of innovation, right? Because if you're not innovating, right, then other people are going to innovate around you. And that's that growth of a company, because they're okay, this thing works. Nobody mess with the system. And everyone's afraid to touch the system. And then all of a sudden it doesn't, unless they have a monopoly or something else is going on, stuff are going to happen where it's going to be not as valuable over time. So it's really interesting. So you need to have all those elements in it. And that's really cool. So Teamly, is that like a Teamly?
It used to be a new consultancy firm helping teams to be super productive as a team, as an organization. So they tested Google, and they were 95% efficient, because they had this thing well in place, and they knew what to outsource. They knew exactly where to put people and their own talent. But most organizations, they don't score higher than 60%. So there's a 40% lack of efficiency in companies just because they didn't have the right people in the right place.
Makes sense. What do
So
I mean? What do you think are the common mistakes then? Like with people, with teams, when people are forming, what do you think are the most common trip ups that people make?
a friend is building a business model cake. So he's taking this and takes 5 layers,
Uh-huh.
and then it has like a 300 questions task to get you on the exact right spot, to get you on the right question to solve to become more productive and efficient in the organization. So he can talk about this much deeper.
Okay.
For me, I think what for us in hackathons, you don't want 2 hipsters in a team. 2 hackers is fine. 2 hustlers is fine. 2 helpers is fine. But 2 hipsters, it's a crash. it's they're coming up with ideas, and they're coming with ideas, and they have to overtake each other in ideas and ideas and ideas, and then the rest is like running away. Like, come on, I cannot work like this. We only have 12 hours left. So that's the only thing for me that is important. You have to have one Elon Musk, one visionary person that is going to be in there. You cannot have two. You cannot have 2 Steve Jobs in the company. It doesn't work. So that's my recipe, I think. Make sure that you have everyone in a role and that you give them autonomy. And there's more books about this, like Exponential Organizations is a great book, and Exponential Transformations is a great book that is showcasing the recipes of successful organizations and successful growth organizations, especially those who've become a unicorn within 7 years. They're talking about that, and they research that. And those 11 recipes are one part is about the left part of the brain, and one part is about the right part of the brain. And I call it one part is about automation, and the other is about creativity and experimentation. If you give them enough experimentation time, budget, autonomy to make decisions, voting rights, no hierarchy, like we do in a hackathon as well. No hierarchies. You wear casual clothing. You're not going to be there in a suit, or you're gonna pitch. At the end of the day, maybe you put on a suit to pitch.
Yeah.
But everyone is the same, and the other side is like, what can we automate as fast as possible? What is repetitive? What could be done with algorithms? And what kind of dashboards do we need to make good decisions? And what kind of social technologies are we going to use to don't have to do any marketing ourselves? So people are going to refer others and get some rewards and build loyalty communities and stuff like that, without having to put any personnel there. And customer support, no, thank you. Build a forum of ambassadors. There are so many things you can do to make your company successful. It's a whole extra 10-week sprint for the audience to get through.
So this is awesome. And looking at what you talk about here, and not only is it just creating business, but you're talking about creating businesses for social impact or social change or positive impact. Can you talk to me just a little bit about like how does all the educations with doing the hackathons and everything else translate into you helping people with not only building a business, but also building a social impact business?
Yeah. So for that, the first important key factor is a social company, a social entrepreneur, doesn't mean that you cannot make a profit. That's like if you want to become a social entrepreneur, you are not going to be an NGO, in my opinion. So you're not going to ask money, and your organization cannot stop. There has to be an end goal in mind. You want to make a change, then define what kind of change, and make sure that you can have that change. So what happens is we are going to look at the Sustainable Development Goals, and we are going to define the most ambitious goal to solve based on the biggest problems in the world. Whether it's 600 million people don't know how to read, or whether it's there's still 4 million people dying of not having enough food, or whether it's people die from oil lamps. They are breathing in oil lamp gases all day. There are 1 million people dying of that every year. Like I put some really great figures on the table. Like, this is actually happening. What are you going to be engaged on? Like, what kind of things makes you turn on? Like, I want to do something about this. This is not normal. That's the first thing. Like, there are huge problems out there, and trying to find a match in. Okay, I know I like stuff. I am stuff. The I and the what and the how. I know my surrounding, but the why is very hard to create. Nowadays, I use VR for it. So let them dive into the context. Okay, you're a tree now. You have roots, you have arms, there are branches, you're growing, and then you're being cut down and fired up. Let's see how that feels. See if that turns you on to do something about this problem.
Yeah.
You are going to be ice going to melt down, and you're going to be the ice bear. Let's see how that feels to be that ice bear. So nowadays we have technology to actually immerse, but first we needed key figures. We needed numbers. Like, this is a huge problem, and then one BBC documentary item or UNICEF or whatever, and then okay, you want to work on that? Okay, that's great. But to fund that, it's hard. So what I do is the company asks, like, can you organize a hackathon? I said, yeah, but we have to make it interesting for everyone. We want to invite a large group of people, right? You want to have a lot of people thinking about your problem, right? So yeah. Okay, so we have to turn it into an SDG challenge. And they're like, what? That is business challenges. So if you want to attract a lot of people, we have to turn this around into a bigger problem. And then we can always create scopes. We can create rules to give them a prize. So we are going to define all the rules that should be in the solution, but the problem will be big and hairy, and it's not only has to do with you as an organization. Otherwise, we are not going to attract a large group of people. Otherwise, we can outsource the problem, right? Let's create a hard goal that you cannot solve, and then everything starts.
So you're talking about, when you say SDG, you're talking about the United Nations, the Sustainable Goals, right? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. And so you're turning it into one of the, what is it? Is it 19? Is that the number?
17. Yeah,
17.
Some say 18. They say we have to protect space as well. I think it's a good thing to protect space, but 17.
Yeah, there's sustainable goals. You're right, and there's that whole space, and there's space debris. There's some crazy things going on. They're just, there's all this like
trash. Flying behind you there.
You see it? That's why I got done. That's why I'm very concerned about this stuff. It's behind me.
A lot of agility.
but that's cool. So you turn into a hackathon, you make the SDG goals, and then you say, okay, this is gonna be a big focus because there's money for that, because it's a known problem, right? It's a known problem to solve that everyone can rally behind.
There's data about it. You can actually summarize the problem, very specific to demographics and locations and cultures. It's very good to do so.
Is there any goals that you like, SDGs, that aren't on the map, like 17? If you could add an 18th, what would you add?
I think interplanetary species.
Oh, and
so we have to protect us, also all other species in the globe. And I think we have the underwater world, the underwater life, as one of the goals, the life in water. But I think the core of the globe is very important for us. So the problem before fossil fuels are running out is, I think, what happens now with climate change in Siberia is that there's all kind of gases coming out of Earth, radioactive and all of that. So the core of the planet is changing. So I would suggest have a goal on preserving the core of the planet to make sure we still have clean water and clean air, and we have the basic elements: water, air, fire, earth. We preserve those. So it's a more of a common goal for everyone. It's, people say, if you have seen the overview effect there, where if you have had the overview effect from space, you see that we're just one small blue dot, and then you feel gratitude. You feel gratification that you're a part of something that's alive and that's so beautiful. You cannot really create that yet, but with VR, you can get close to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I made a meditation app once where you're going through the space and you see the Earth and you start to go backwards and you go past all the planets and there's
Yeah.
that pale blue dot
Yeah.
speech. It talks about all the kings, all the peasants, all the criminals, all the thieves, all the loves, all the moms, all the
Oh,
dads, all of these people have all of them lived on this tiny pale blue dot, which does give you a sense of unity and being connected, which is yeah, I think we could always do for a bit more of that. Do
yeah.
you feel like so you've been on a mission here to help a million people with social change.
Hmm.
You know, do you have a I have two parts of that, but one of them being is like, do you have that defined in terms of specific social change, or is it any one of these sustainable goals, or how would you define your holy grail of helping a million people?
Well, I'm never going to be a specialist and focusing on one thing.
Uh-huh.
But if I'm talking about disrupting a system, I'm mostly talking about education. I'm mostly working on changing as education from the outside in and inside out. And so I have 3 days working inside one of the biggest universities in the Netherlands, and the rest of the week I'm an entrepreneur and yeah, organizing still a lot of hackathons, but also a lot of VR events nowadays,
Mm,
and bridging the gap between cultures and countries, and setting up a lot of partnerships actually, and setting up schools in Nigeria right now, and sharing technology there so they can have resources to learn from and to build, invent with. Um, yeah, so the education sector is like is my heart.
mm,
If we can gamify education to do good for society, uh, the students, they don't have to think about anything before they are done with school. They don't have any reliabilities, and they have no responsibilities, and they have no cost of living, and they have no children to take care of. So within that education time, like the 12-year-old or 20-year-old, you can already make a lot of change. You are creative. You like these challenges to work on. You like games.
mhm.
You're allowed to play games, but if the games are not the LAN parties but hackathons, uh, I see that a lot of addicted gamers are my best people in my hackathons, because they go and go and go and they do it, and they're setting up businesses, and they, like most of the successful serial entrepreneurs that I know, they were addicted to gaming actually. So
Yeah.
it's really, they have walked through simulations, and they've seen and understood the system of society through gaming. They've shown already leadership on a very young age. They've created worlds, and they've taught people skills, and they know how to be a father figure for others. I see that if we can change the 12 to 20-year-old timeline, what is done in that phase. We give them an X Prize competition when they are 12. Like, these are the challenges we haven't solved in the last 20 years. X Prize gives you 1 million if you solve it. Come on, let's get some good ideas. Well,
Yeah.
I would get so excited to do that all day with a lot of kids. Just run these hackathons, and see projects coming out of there, helping their local environments out of a sudden, and so young, so everyone has a lot of goodwill. Yeah, there's so much goodwill to this age group, and people only think they're outside, they're annoying people, they are fighting on the street, they're putting waste everywhere. And if you look at what we set up here, it's called Young Impact. We actually turn 50,000 students every year into social entrepreneurs between the age of 12 to 25. There's over 100,000 people attending every year, where we take influencers, like famous magicians and all of that. We let them provide a challenge, like pick up the plastic on the street, or go help a granny with their groceries, or organize a dance event for handicapped people. These kind of challenges they are posting with a small video Like, I'm going to do that this month. I'm going to help and do a dance performance with handicapped people.
Yeah.
Are you in? Are you in? And you can sign up. And if you post a video with the hashtag Young Impact
Yeah.
or Young Impact Day, we grant you a free ticket to actually go to the performance of this influencer. So in
Oh,
the end
that's
of the year, we have one big, massive event, and we invite 10,000 people. We don't have tickets and space for 100,000, but 110 of these children get a golden ticket to actually see their role model, and they have done something for society. So they are learning to do volunteer work very young, so they can decide on their studies better, decide on their role in society better, and they can make a positive change. How small it can be, that's not a problem.
That's beautiful, and that's amazing. And it goes back to that crowdsourcing on your first write-up paper of
Yeah,
crowdsourcing and bring it back, which is awesome. What do you think is
yeah.
in terms of that's the holy grail? What is the dragon? What is something that is seemingly so difficult for you to overcome? You don't know if it's possible. What for you is your dragon?
Ooh, yeah. Well, you have a short time span if you think about climate problems. If you say 2050, the Earth is gone in terms of all the resources that we have on Earth. Well, I think overconsumption is the biggest challenge. Um,
Mm,
we are so fed up in a capitalistic system. If we make enough money as an entrepreneur, we have to spend it, or it is going to turn into tax money. The first thing is solve the tax money problem. Like, we don't want to pay taxes, so we buy a big car, and then a V8, like a big fossil fuel car. We're
mhm.
gonna buy a huge car, and then we're gonna show everyone that we have a good car, and they want to be part of our tribe. It's such a bad attitude from influencers. But the tax system, what we are doing is we're creating municipalities that are creating governance based on the SDGs. So that
Mm,
governance that is very hard to read and understand, we turn it into SDGs so they can communicate what they do with the tax money.
yeah.
So that entrepreneurs like us, and we don't have a foundation or something to help others with, and we don't have a social enterprise, that we are not going to try find another way to not pay taxes. That we want to pay taxes because we can vote. Oh, I'm going to solve the quality of education problem in this region. My tax money will go to that. So that was one part of the pie. The other part is, okay, the consumption pie.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we are going to buy less because we are knowing where our tax money is going, but um, we have a population of 8 billion people or something now, and we know that if you have a high welfare, we get less children. That's said by research. So the amount of people will go to 11 billion and then go down again. At least in Europe, we see that already. Yeah, we have per two persons, we get 1.3 child.
Mm,
So
yeah.
we lose population in Europe.
Yeah.
That that's something that maybe can solve the issue, but it's also because inflation is coming, everything becomes more expensive, so we cannot afford to have a child anymore. That's also in place.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting balance between the overconsumption and the population, and then also the
Yeah.
tax. Yeah,
If we don't consume, we don't have that much inflation,
yeah,
and we can restore our planet. So we need to find circular systems. We really have to build a circular way of doing business and trading and recycling and reusing everything we use,
mhm,
upcycle it into a better product.
yeah. That's beautiful, man. Yeah, I love what you're about, and I love all the missions that you're on, and I really do think your uncle would be proud of you. I think it's a beautiful what you've done is really incredible stuff.
I'm not
Um,
done yet.
I know. No, that's it. You're done. No more. You're done. No, you gotta
Yeah.
keep going,
So
man. Keep. He's
we
still
have
in his
a,
show.
we have a question from Bruce. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah, it's not Bruce. I think he might have bounced out, but he asked if do you ever dream that you're an NPC in a video game like in that movie? Here, let me put that
Like
up.
the new Matrix movie.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever?
That would that yeah. I think, like, if you are like in the hero's journey,
Mm,
you're explaining how that works to people. If you
mm,
can be an NPC that does only do that,
mm,
that you can be a hologram inside a virtual world, and you always lead the right way, like a what do you call it? The Dalai Lama. That you can be a Dalai
Yeah.
Lama inside a
Yeah.
game. That would be so cool, right? You can share wisdom. People go forward with that, and
Yep.
they can be better persons. Yeah, I would love to be an NPC like that.
Dalai Lama floating in the cross-legged, as your meditated position.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. This is incredible. Nick, thank you so much for your time, brother. I love all that you're doing. Is there anything else you'd like to let people know about before you tell them how to get a hold of you?
Make sure that you don't end up like my uncle. Make sure that you are going to pursue the life that you wanted. And it's really helpful if you find ways to help others. So try to do as much as possible when you're young. Experiment a lot. Find out what you like, what gives you the I before the Y, what gives you energy when you wake up. So you don't get depressed like me, that you don't have to wait till you're 20 and then finally go do something useful with your life, get yourself self-esteem and all of those things. But find yourself the community of people that you can learn from, that lift you up, and start experimenting and start figuring out what brings you energy and someone else energy.
I love it. I totally agree. Find your I before the Y. And if people want to get a hold of you, Nick, how do they do that?
Easiest is via my website, nickvanbreda.com, and there's a contact page, and it's like you can contact me on any social media. It's all fine.
That's beautiful. All right, Nick, have a blessed and beautiful day, my friend. Thank you so much for your time. I know you made this happen last minute, hopping from one meeting to the next, so I appreciate you. And thank you so much, and I'll see you on the other side, brother.
Yeah, I'll see you on the other side. Let's meet him in VR the next time, right?
That sounds like a plan. Let's do that. That'd be a lot of fun. Although I don't know how I feel about being a tree chopped down. So
I will make sure you're the ice bear.
That's like a Coca-Cola in his hand. All right, man. Thanks so much, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Heroes of Reality podcast. Check out heroesofreality.com for more episodes. While you're there, you can also take the Heroes Quiz to find out what kind of hero you are. Or, if you have a great story and want to be on the podcast, tell us why your hero's journey will inspire others. Thank you for listening.